So I'm speaking really softly because my sister's asleep and it's Sunday morning, so it's about 7:30 now. I've taken forever to get ready. I'm running a little bit late, so I'm just going to have my crumpets. Normally I would have Greek yogurt and granola and fruit at this time of year because it's spring, but I didn't have time to make it this morning, and I would probably also usually make an espresso and take it in my takeaway cup to have when I drive to work, but I don't have time, so I'm gonna just like eat my crumpets now and then head out the door, and I'll see you when I get there. Okay, so I hope you can hear me all right. I'll have a bit of a chat to you while I'm driving to work. Sorry, I had been filming on my camera, but for some reason it's not working, so this is on my phone. So anyway, whatever, we'll just see how we go. I'm so learning as I go with all this stuff. Anyway, so I'm driving to work. I'm running a touch late. It's okay though, because it is a Sunday, so things are a lot more relaxed. So Sunday shifts, we normally just work like 8 till 4:30 p.m. with a half an hour lunch break. I can take an hour for lunch if I want to, but I kind of just feel like half an hour is enough. Like it's the weekend and I'd rather just get in and out. And to be honest, it's usually so busy anyway that I don't really even have time to sit down for lunch. So it's fine. And as you can see, I packed my lunch with me today, but that's actually super organized for me. Normally I have to buy my lunch on the weekend because I've eaten takeaway all weekend and I have nothing to bring, so that is a plus for me. Yay. What's going to happen for my day? I'm not really sure. What's going to happen is I'm going to park my car, I'm going to go in, I think I'm going to get a coffee because I need one so that I can function, and then I'll probably head to the physio department, which is where I'm based, and that's where I will get check my emails, and that's where my handover will be from the person who worked yesterday, and there's a folder there where they normally print out their list from yesterday as well and leave it, and then we also have an online system where I can see what's going on. So between all three things, I should know where I'm meant to start for the day, and yeah, so I'll probably spend about 15-20 minutes doing that, and then I will head up to the ward and triage my patients, and then really focus on the high priorities for the day. And so I guess I'll probably check in with you at lunchtime, and I can talk a little bit more about what I actually do. Cool. So anyway, I'm just going to continue on driving now. I just finished my shift and I'm just heading back to the department, and once I get in there I'll have a bit of a chat to you about how my day went. Okay, so here I am in the physio seminar room, or the kind of where we have lunch and things like that and all of our meetings, and I really had planned to maybe try and chat to you at my lunchtime, but I ended up getting chatting to a colleague and everything like that. So yes, so I didn't do that. So it's not a very good day in the life so far, but anyway, we'll do our best. So yes, so my day. So essentially I worked today from 8 until it's about 5 p.m. now, and I had a little break in between, and I had a really, really busy day today. So I guess, like I've mentioned before, I am working at the moment as an allied health interdisciplinary practitioner. And so what that entails is that I work as a physiotherapist, but I also do screening and assessments across occupational therapy, physiotherapy, speech pathology, dietetics, and social work as well. And so it is an advanced scope position that I've been in since May this year. And basically the role is within the space of general medicine. So we do get some younger patients, but it's predominantly geriatrics. And what we do is I'm kind of part of the admissions team. So as the patients get admitted into the emergency department, it's my job to, from an allied health perspective, kind of screen them and admit them as part of the team, get a really good social history and do some objective assessments as well for different parts of the allied health team. And then I make really appropriate and I guess information-filled referrals to the rest of the team. And so the idea is that it reduces the duplication of all of the allied health referrals, because we found that our allied health teams were getting like so many inappropriate referrals, and the awareness of what each actual allied health discipline did was really not there for a lot of the nursing and medical staff. And so we decided the best thing to do was actually put an allied health staff member in there in the admission process to actually make really appropriate referrals. And so the idea is that it saves the clinicians time on the ward. They don't have to spend as much time sifting through their referrals, and they can actually spend more of their time seeing patients. So it's kind of a new role. We've built it from the ground up. I had to go through about 16 hours of training additionally to what I do every day to allow me to be competent to actually assess across all these different disciplines, because obviously I am not an occupational therapist or a speech pathologist or a dietitian or whatever else. And their jobs obviously are very detailed, and they go to university for a really long time to do those things. So by no means am I actually qualified to properly do those professions, but I do have some limited knowledge that allows me to screen for their needs. Yeah, so it's a really good job and I really like it. I spend a lot of time speaking to patients and their families. I do some of the mobility assessments and those home setups sort of assessments and things like that I would normally do as a physiotherapist. But I've learnt new skills as well, such as assessing somebody's swallow and for speech pathology, and assessing whether they appear malnourished for dietetics, and kind of picking up on vulnerabilities and things like that for social work. And yeah, so it's really good. So I guess for my day-to-day, I spent most of the day just sifting through a lot of patients. I think I saw all up about 10 patients in the day, and a lot of those are really, really complex patients. So they can take maybe an hour or more to do the assessment, and it involves a lot of, trawling through past medical histories on the computer system, past admissions, community involvement, talking to the doctors, talking to the patient, talking to the family, and then going through assessments for the patient as well. So it's a very in-depth assessment, and then at the end of that I sit down at the computer and I spend a very long time typing out all of the referrals to everybody else. So I'm quite pleased with my effort today actually. 10 patients is a lot of patients for me to see in a day. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, just depends how complex they are obviously. And so like I said, it is within general medicine, this role. So I only kind of see those types of patients. So we don't see like the surgical patients or the other specialty patients like cardiology or respiratory or oncology or those sorts of things. But I think a really good aspect of general medicine is that I get to learn lots of different things, like lots of different medical aspects about lots of different diseases. And usually these patients actually present with a myriad of different comorbidities. And so, I think it's a real art to be able to tackle these patients when they've got so many different things wrong with them and they're aging. And so we're dealing with, how to discharge plan these people appropriately home. We're dealing with quality of life and, helping to make people, I think, have better lives and to keep them out of hospital longer, hopefully. So I definitely feel like I come to work every day and I make a difference in people's lives. And I also get to tick off a lot of lists, which I love doing. I'm a list ticker. And so I love it when I have a whole list of patients at the start of the day, and then by the end of the day I've done them all. So that's really good. So yeah, so that's my day today. So I guess what I'll do is I'll maybe take you for a bit of a tour of the physio department to show you what it's like. It's actually really funny here at my hospital. It's a really modern, beautiful hospital. We have amazing facilities, and then a lot of the actual departments for the disciplines are in the old building. We, in our physio department, we really don't have any windows or anything like that. But anyway, I'll show you around. Okay, so this is our seminar room when we have lunch. This is where I had my lunch. I play a lot of cards at lunchtime. in the physio department, which is good. And then coming out here, this is kind of where our admin lady sits. And then everyone's pages. And then this is my desk, that's my face, and all my stuff. And we're really lucky because we have a laptop. It's new this week. We're really happy about it. For the AHIPs, that's what we called, Allied Health Interdisciplinary Practitioners. So that is the physio department. And then, I better turn that light off. And then, and this is one of the gym areas where we have exercise physiologists work here, and we have a lot of our outpatient programs, so like pulmonary rehab and cardiac rehab, and up the end here is a little education area where a lot of patients come in for their pulmonary or cardiac rehab, and then at the end or the start they have an education session as well, so it's part of the program. And then this is only one of the physio departments. We actually have another one over in the more modern hospital which has more exercise equipment, and that's where a lot of the outpatient musculoskeletal stuff happens. Oh my gosh, it is so hot. What a nice day. I always feel like that's the saddest part of working the weekend, is when it's a really nice day outside and you've been inside all day and you literally had no idea that it was a nice day. It's always kind of tragic, I think, when that happens. But that's okay. I'm sure when I get to med school, I'm sure med school won't be like that, but I'm sure that med life will be like that, and I'll be able to remember what it was like. Oh dear. Anyway, gosh, I'm actually really tired after that shift. I always find like on Sunday shifts, like I just work really, really hard. I mean, during the week, there's me and I have one other colleague who's full-time, and then I have two other colleagues that are kind of part-time, and they work like different days. And so I feel like it usually doesn't matter if you don't get stuff done, because you've always got someone else to hand it over to, whereas today it's kind of like the buck stops with me. So if I don't get something done, then no one's going to be here until about 7:30 tomorrow morning. Yes, so I think I just really pushed myself today to try and get as much done as possible, and I'm actually really happy with it, because it's only going to make my day easier tomorrow and my colleagues as well. And I guess that's the whole point of the role. The whole point of my job is to make everybody else's jobs easier and to reduce everybody else's work. So if I have a good day and I get everything done, then I feel like that reflects really well on the rest of the team, and everyone else can get off to a really good start on Monday. So I guess that's my main aim. So yeah, I mean, I know that this video is titled A Day in the Life of a Physiotherapist, but whilst I definitely do physio as part of my job, I do lots of other stuff for lots of different allied health teams, and I think that that's probably what makes my current job really exciting and really different, is that these roles, you know, they don't exist in you know, many places around Australia. They're kind of an emerging sort of role, and so I know that in New South Wales these roles certainly exist, and I'd probably have to do a bit more research, to be honest with you, to let you know if there was other states, but it is starting to emerge. But I do know that in the UK these sorts of roles are really big, because it's about, you know, having to deal with a really busy population and reducing, you know, obviously getting an older population and or an aging population, and not having the resources to be able to deal with that. So this is one of the ways that you can kind of optimize your resources, is by making these kind of generalist clinicians who are good at kind of skimming the surface with your assessments, and then kind of referring onto the specialist professions, which would be like your physio, your OT, your social worker, etc., only when it's really indicated and really necessary. So I think these roles are a really good way to save money and save time, and actually I think we improve patient care, because they don't have to tell their story a million times when they come into hospital hospital, they only have to tell their story to one person, ideally. I know people obviously it still gets duplicated, but you know, ideally they have to tell their story less, which means that the patient has a better journey in the hospital, and you know, happy days, really. That's what we're aiming for. We want our patients to be happy, we want our patients to have a good quality of life, and we want our patients to go home and to stay home and to not come back into hospital. And so that's kind of what my job is all about. So yeah, I guess thinking a little bit more about like when I was a physio full-time, what sort of things I would do and how my job was different. I was more kind of that specialist that I was talking about before. So, you know, I would get referrals, and then it was up to me to work out if those referrals were appropriate or not, and then I would go and see them. So the types of things that a physio might get referrals for would be things like to assess somebody's mobility, and then if somebody was then below their baseline or below their normal level of mobility, then my job would be to provide some sort of intervention to try and get them back to that level of mobility, or to say, actually, I don't think this patient can get back to their normal level of mobility for one reason or another, be it medical or something else, and then in which case it would be my job to work as part of the team to find or to get them home kind of in an adjusted way, or I guess a more supported way. And so that would be for mobility. And then, so that's where you start to see things like physios that work in rehabilitation, those sorts of things. That's more of a subacute setting or a rehab setting, whereas I work in an acute hospital. So when patients are there most unwell, that's when I see them. And the other part of other types of referrals that I would get for physiotherapy would be things like a respiratory assessment. So in Australia, physiotherapists, and I know this, and in the UK as well, physiotherapists do all sorts of things. So we do the mobility assessments, we work, and we also do the respiratory assessments as well. Whereas I know in America, they're different professions. So we're an all-in-one. And so I might also get referrals for respiratory assessments or interventions. So things like where people have airways disease and they can't clear their sputum. Sorry about that. I was getting really paranoid because I started recording it on my camera this morning, and then I put it in my bag, and this is really embarrassing, but it like stabbed my pear, and then it got all sticky, and now the shutters won't open. So because I am just a winner. So anyway, I'm gonna clean that up, and hopefully I can fix it. I'm sure it's fine. It just won't work right now, but I'm sure it's fine. So anyway, I'm recording on my phone, which is a bit dodgy while I'm driving. Anyway, I digress. Respiratory physio referrals. Yes. So physiotherapists can treat like a range of respiratory issues, including to do with sputum clearance and volume restoration. And so depending on where you're working, you can do things like sputum patients for people with COPD and bronchiectasis, and increasing exercise tolerance and managing pacing strategies and managing shortness of breath and those sorts of things, and a lot of exercise to help those sorts of things as well. And then if, you know, at where I work, we also I don't, but other people work in the ICU, and people work in what we call the weaning unit, which is weaning people off ventilation and dealing with people who have degenerative muscular disorders such as muscular dystrophy and MS and things like that, who need ventilation. And we also deal with spinal cord injuries, and those people have a lot of respiratory issues as well. So physios get referrals for lots of different respiratory complications, which I think, you know, when I was starting out and I was thinking about being a physio, I didn't realise that physios actually did all this stuff. I just kind of thought that physios worked in sports practices, and they did massage and they did rehabilitation for sporting and high-level exercise, and that was it. And when I first started going to uni, I was kind of shocked and appalled that I was going to have to work in a hospital. I didn't really know that was a thing. That was a big surprise for me. And, you know, with working in the hospital comes lots of joys, which is like, it's super social, and you get to work as part of this amazing large interdisciplinary team, like with the doctors and the nurses and the rest of the allied health staff, and it's actually so much, it's well, obviously I've chosen to work in a hospital for 7 years. I think that it's awesome. And some people step in the hospital and they absolutely hate it and they run away back to sports physio, and that's what their love is. So I think physio is one of those great careers where there's so many different options and you can specialize in so many different facets of, you can work in the community, in community rehabilitation, you can work in pediatrics, you can work in health promotion, you can go into management, in hospitals and other health industries. You can work in work cover, you can work in insurance. Like, it's one of those careers that it really has so many different options. And so if anyone's considering physio as a career, I definitely would recommend it. I've really gained so much from it. And some of the things that I think you forget about are all of those life skills that you learn from jobs like this. So being a physio, you have to absolutely talk to so many people every day. My job is literally talking to people. That is, you have to be able to communicate really clearly and really well. You have to be able to get really good histories from people, and you have to understand what is important to your patients and what they want to achieve while they're with you, and setting goals with them, and really making sure that you're improving their quality of life. That's what our job is. And so I've really formed some amazing communication skills and building relationships with other health professionals, and obviously written communication and working in a team and all that sort of thing. And also just learning to be a bit more chilled out as well, because I think when I first started my career, and probably still even now to be honest, but I was very uptight and I was a perfectionist and I wanted to do everything by the book. And I think working in the environment that I do has really kind of shown me that sometimes you do have to be flexible, particularly when you're in an environment where anything can happen. People are unwell, and you have to be prepared for anything. And you could be walking someone and they could become really unstable from a medical perspective, or you could be walking someone and they could be incontinent, or you could be walking them and their pants might fall down because they're those awful hospital pants that never tie up properly, or they could fall, and all of those sorts of things. So this job has really shown me to be flexible and to be open-minded and to be, willing to kind of just go with the flow and accept whatever happens, and also to think quickly on my feet when those adverse events unfortunately do happen. So yeah, it's a great career. I love it. And like I said, I love going to work every day, and I think that being a physio working in the hospital has been what's made me want to kind of learn more and become a doctor. But I don't want anyone to think for a minute that I'm leaving physio because I hate it, because that's absolutely not the case. I think it's great. So if you are looking for a career that is flexible and has lots of different options, and that you're not ever going to be tied down to one thing, that it's always changing, you're always on your feet all day, you've got always talking to people, it's a really social profession, then I would definitely recommend you look into physio, because I just think it's one of the good ones out there if you're thinking of different careers. But anyway, I think I'm going to wind it up there. I feel like I've talked a lot today and about my job, and I hope people have found it useful, and hopefully it's helped anyone out there who's thinking about a change of career, or who's in high school and they're trying to choose a career for the first time. I hope maybe seeing a bit of an insight into my day is helpful. So yeah, so thanks for watching. As always, give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and if you're new here, feel free to hit subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.